I'll just once again thank our members for being members of the Wisconsin chapter of the NRHS. It's because of your support we're able to do programs like this. If you are not yet a member, it's very simple to become one. If you are a person who derives some value from the entertainment you're experiencing tonight, why don't you go to our website, www.nrhswis.org, and become a member right now. And we'll turn it over now to our final presenter of the evening, Jerry Krug, in the house with his special schemes and special trains program. Jerry, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mike. That was a great show. That I'm not going to be able to follow that show with any sort of skill, but I just got out of tax season and just wanted to put together a quick show of various special trains and schemes I've seen over the year. So this will move right along, and hope everybody enjoys it. So I'm just going to show a bunch of special schemes and a couple of special trains that I've shot. I started shooting digital shots in 2003 when I got a digital camera for Christmas. So I had to figure out something to take pictures of. So my childhood interest in trains seemed like a natural idea. So most of these shots are taken around Milwaukee and will be familiar. I'll bet that many people watching this show will have taken some of these same shots at the same time. So I'm going to go in just in alphabetical order by reporting mark. So we start with Amtrak. The first few are 40th anniversary units. This is taken from the 6th Street Bridge at the Milwaukee Depot. This is on the eastbound approach to the Milwaukee Depot. Always like shooting that with that building in the background. This is out at this is along at Hart Park along State Street in Milwaukee. Another 40th anniversary unit. All right. There's a veterans unit that floats around that goes through Milwaukee once in a while. So this one is at Elm Grove, leading a westbound, the builder. This one was taken at Hart Park, a little closer view. Kind of a nice and one-off scheme. Now we're getting into the 50th anniversary units, and most of these were taken just in the past few weeks. Here's that same building again with number 160. This is from that infamous day when they first ran these engines westbound. I think the entire railfan community was down there, and remember they had to sit out a car. There was a fire, and the whole thing was kind of a debacle, as I recall. But I managed to shoot this. Then when it finally got going west, this was in Kansas, another 50th anniversary unit. This is just a random shot I took on September 23rd, 2003. Didn't know why it had this scheme when you see the normal scheme on the trailing engines. If anybody out there knows, I'd be curious to know. It's not marked for any particular anniversary or reason. All right, we'll keep going. This just came through last Saturday, I believe it was. Chargers, nothing special about the scheme, but just something new to look at. Hoping the engines prove to be a success. The California Science Center hosted an exhibit for King Tut back in 2012. You can see this wrap was put on a sounder unit, which normally runs on the West Coast. So I don't have a clue why it ended up coming through Milwaukee on the way to Chicago, but this was unplanned, just a grab. With Phil, I was very fortunate to get it. Okay, the CN has put out some heritage units recently, so I don't seem to have very good luck getting good weather, but this is the Illinois Central unit that's shot from the Carroll College parking lot in Waukesha. Here's another one going over that bridge just south of downtown, southbound. Thing was going about 40 miles an hour. Kind of caught me by surprise. This is a CN Veterans unit. This was taken in front of the Quad Graphics plant out in Sussex. There's another unit that's come through a couple times, but I haven't gotten it. The EJ&E Heritage Unit. Here, this one's approaching Lost Arrow Road, about to climb Byron Hill. Here's a closer view. In fact, I think it's the same train. Well, maybe not. I see it's dark here versus sunny on the other shot. It's come through a few times, so I've been able to get it. Wisconsin Central Unit, my favorite of the bunch. This one was stopped at the moment on the long stretch at Ackerville. I think I caught it just when it was starting to move again. Here's another one from Highway 28, which goes over the tracks. I'm thinking on the way to Mayville. This is a favorite place to shoot, but you got to know something's coming. This is the British Columbia unit. This is also from the Carroll College parking lot in downtown Waukesha. Boy, that is bright. Feels patriotic, feels like it should be an American scheme. And here's a different train leading. This is in front of the Quad Graphics building again in Sussex. The only time I've caught the Grand Trunk Heritage Unit, this is at the yard in Fond du Lac. Many of you will recall that road that used to cut through the yard on the south end. The map that calls it Lakeshore Drive, which is now obviously blocked off. This is the only time I've caught this unit. Okay, Canadian Pacific ran its steam engine a few times. This is at Fall River, taken on June 16, 2004. A nice looking consist. Another place I like to shoot from in the afternoon. I like that curve. This was a different time. This was on September 4th, 2007. Took this from the Watertown Plank Bridge. That's the old Northwestern Union Pacific flying overhead. Right. The D-Day unit for the Canadian Pacific. They released several military units. Kind of a nice scheme. This is just west of downtown, the downtown depot. All right. Whoops. This is at Fall River, that huge elevator is just out of sight off to the left. We went out on my birthday in 2020, hoping to catch something, and was very pleased to catch this. One of the CP heritage schemes. This is just west of the overpass on 108th Street. There's not much there. Thought I'd try it, and I took this shot, and I don't think I need to shoot there again, but glad to get it. At Nashotah. From the Holly Road Bridge. Of course, the sun came into the spot about 10 seconds after the train passed. That seems to be a theme when I go out and try to chase. The sun is everywhere around me, but not where I am. Sometimes you have to go out when it's a little darker. Conditions are not the greatest. This is by Miller Park on that curve. I should have said Amfam Field. I guess I'm living in the past. There's another military unit coming east down in the valley, approaching the depot. Here's CP 7021 heading into Muskego Yard. This is taken from Canal Street. I've never caught this one leading. This is the only time I got it, and it was trailing. This is at Muskego Yard also. from the Holly Road Bridge. I was up there with a bunch of young rail fans, and I got there just before this train came along, and so I stood where they stood. And I didn't realize I was on the wrong side of the sun, but I'll take it. Okay, this is a more recent one. This commemorates the purchase of the line to go all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, the old Montreal, Maine, and Quebec, or something like that. Anyway, this is CP 86 on 26th. It was stopped right here. I don't recall why. So I shot it from Canal Street, then shot it from the parking lot of the building next to where it was stopped. It's meant to commemorate container service through the Atlantic Ocean. Quite a change for the normal CP scheme. 8888, no particular significance, just a fun number. That's at Hart Park. Just saw this and was good to get a cowl unit, although it's not a special scheme, but certainly a special engine. And it has auto frames on it. So I didn't remember specifically that I had shot a train with auto frames heading south toward Chicago. That's why this is probably a one-off in all my shots to have gotten the auto frames. The CP had a what they call a dual flag scheme, showing the United States and Canadian flags. So they put them on some older engines and some newer ones too. Excuse me, took this one at Columbus. I don't recall where I took the prior one. Anyway, you know, it seems routine, but you just got to keep shooting and you don't know what you're going to get. All right, now we're on to Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern. I believe this was a 20th anniversary unit. This was taken at Waseca, Minnesota. Have a nice look, I think. This is the Mount Rushmore scheme. Unfortunately, by the time I got it, it was quite worn, but this particular scheme got a lot of publicity and goodwill at the time. I think I got this one at New Ulm, Minnesota. This one is same engine in Dubuque. You just barely see the outline of the Mount Rushmore on the side. The city of Sleepy Eye, commemorative unit. The DME named all or nearly all of their engines for cities that they served. You can see the sketch of Chief Sleepy Eye in the shot. My former in-laws vacationed in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, where the Florida East Coast had its diesel shop. So one day I went in there and got permission and shot everything that was sitting around. And here's an Operation Lifesaver scheme. Here's an Operation Lifesaver scheme for the Grand Trunk. This was a switch job working at the south end of Markham Yard in Homewood, Illinois, the old Illinois Central Complex. There were a lot of pink freight cars running around for a while for commemorating the breast cancer research. Caught this one in a line on the branch on the way to, I think it's Mount Morris, Illinois, where cars were being stored. I have a couple other pink ones too, but I couldn't find them in time for the show. I don't wonder if anybody else out there besides me has 10 to 15,000 unlabeled shots. Something to do when I retire. Iowa Interstates Operation Lifesaver scheme, taken at Iowa City. Caught this engine at Old Wine, Iowa. I believe this hauled the Hawkeye Express for many years. I really don't know what's happened to the engine since. I think it's kind of a nice scheme commemorating the Rock Island. This was an Iowa Northern engine. The CN ran a special up to a golf tournament at Whistling Straits. This was taken on August 7, 2004. So always like these Streamline units. These are always crowd pleasers. This photo was taken at Cleveland, Wisconsin, on track that's now abandoned. Some Sundays I would drive to Milwaukee to Marquette and then Iowa and then follow the line and see if I'd find anything. This particular day I had gone as far as Mason City and then started working my way back and found this train sitting in the controlled siding at Ossian, Iowa. If I recall, this train had run employee excursions out of Marquette, Iowa. This was taken in on October 18, 2009. So you have the engines, and then 3 of their cool cars. Would have liked to have gone on that excursion or seen the inside of these cars. I don't know what happened to these cars after the Canadian Pacific took over. All right, we saw this in Gilbert's show. This is the Kansas City Southern's Veterans Unit. Caught this one in Vivian, Louisiana last summer, completely by accident. There's a Metra Operational Lifesaver unit. So I was putting the show together, I realized I have not caught any of the Metra Heritage units. So that's something to go get this summer. Milwaukee 261 has made many appearances in the last 20 years throughout the Midwest. So here's one running from Milwaukee to St. Paul. This was taken just north of the Dells. So here's a version in color. It's very bright and a little hazy, so it's a little bit washed out. I converted to black and white just to see what it might look like. I like them both. Milwaukee 261 outside the putting together its train down by the depot in Milwaukee. A lot of private cars, must have been 15 or 20 private cars in this train. I shot them all. Finally, Milwaukee 261 on the bridge at Wisconsin Dells. All right, well, these are a couple of the Montreal, Maine, and Quebec engines. They were not allowed to lead on the Canadian Pacific, but they trailed. So this was at the end of an eastbound train. Took this one in Elm Grove. I'm just not remembering where I took this one, but was glad to get it. The color was pretty faded. I've seen pictures where the blue is much brighter. All right, I'm betting most of the people watching this show caught nickel plate 765 on its trip to Janesville from Chicago. That would have been in 2016. And Dave Nelson mentioned this as a Berkshire. So here I got mine, Dave. This was approaching Janesville and about the only spot in the entire Janesville area where, for some reason, there weren't any other rail fans. So here it is coming in. It was a little disappointing that it was cloudy that day, but I guess they got sunny shots on the way home. So here it is in the Janesville yard, people fussing over it. A lot of maintenance on these engines. Here's some spectators and I think somebody with the right attitude to just sit down and take it all in. If I remember right, it pulled forward and it was backed. It's backing up right now on this large Y, so it could head back. All right, yeah, although the Norfolk Southern did a bunch of heritage engines. Here's the New York Central engine near Miller Park on a nice day. This was taken in 2019. Here's the first time I saw it down pulling out to go towards Chicago out of Burnham Yard. This would have, or Muskego Yard. This would have been on March 9th, 2013. This was, I believe, the first of the heritage units I shot. This one was what came through just last August 20th. The reading unit taken from Holly Road Bridge. The second unit, by the way, is a Norfolk Southern engine commemorating a rebuild program. The Gilbert had the Virginian in his show. Here it is trailing at Hart Park. The Illinois terminal unit I've caught several times. This was a particular favorite at Muckwonago, rather, by the old feed mill. Nice light, nice day. Caught this one, 1074 at Portage Junction. It had stopped, it had pulled out east and then stopped, waiting for a signal. Then when it got the light, why it creeped forward. Another day, of course, that wasn't the best, but was still glad to get it. All right. It's one of their prettier schemes, I think, the Wabash unit. This is from the Watertown Plank Bridge. This was the day I got to meet fellow rail fan Jeff Hampton. So it was a memorable day in two respects. Jeff is a highly established and proficient shooter. Was glad to get to know him. This is the so-called barcode unit, number 1111, that came through Milwaukee last year. This is of at Marsh Siding, Norfolk Southern unit, commemorating that rebuild program I recently just mentioned. This is the manga, I think I'm saying this right, Manga Gila unit. It's another one I caught early on, but went on a road trip, you know, as my Patty says, Jerry, you know how to show a guy a girl a good time? You know, take me to Hawaii, take me to Paris, take me to New York. No, I'll take you to Fargo. Here we found it sitting, waiting for a crew to go take an oil train back to the Bakken Formation. Here's a better shot taken from the Bugline Bridge. This was in 2013, I think. Sometimes we go to extremes to get our shots. I could have used Gilbert strobes when this thing came through. This is actually coming on the curve out of the depot going east. But you know, sometimes you just take what you can get. Another case where I could have used strobes or a little better gear to get the nickel plate unit. The Central of Georgia unit and another unit led a train on a Union Pacific just a couple of weeks ago. Made a big fuss and hung around actually for a couple of days. But here I had gotten it already. I got this one. This is near Miller Park from the elevation. Got this one on, let's see, May 27th, 2015. Leaving eastbound on the Canadian Pacific. So when his pair departed on the Union Pacific, would have been March 26th, right? I was up near Potter Road and took this. It was snowy and kind of dark, but still a good sight to see. Another really nice scheme, the Pennsylvania unit. This particular day I drove to Portage to shoot this because I was worried that the weather might be cloudy by the time it got to Milwaukee. Well, it didn't use, you could see it did not get cloudy, so spent a whole day chasing this thing and caught this by Miller Park. I'm sorry, American Family Field. You can see the Miller sign in the background. Whoops. Sorry, I got a little trigger happy there. Bear with me. Okay. All right. Next one is the Norfolk and Western commemorative unit. I've never caught it leading. Here it is on one of those trailer trains. This was at Potter Road, I believe. Again, good to see it. So The Lehigh Valley unit led a train at a Canadian Pacific through Milwaukee. This is quite a colorful sight too. This interstate unit I caught on a Union Pacific grain train near Franklin Grove, Illinois. Cloudy day, but I went to get this and glad I got it. It's the only time I've seen it. This was the trailing unit from the train that ran on the Union Pacific on March 26th. All right, Peoria and Western ran these Streamline units. These are former Algoma Central units. I think they did a nice job on the scheme. You can see what they look like when they got delivered. Found this at Canton, Illinois. I believe this was at Keokuk, Illinois. Might be wrong, but you can see how they were not pretty, and then the Peoria and Western made them look nice. I've caught many freight cars with slogans on them, but of course they're not all labeled. Here's one I caught at Hart Park. 1 in 4 children in America struggles with hunger from ConAgra Foods. All right. I've never chased through 1003. Not sure why. I have nothing against it, just never have. But one day was out and about. Looks like it was on July 7, 2005. I caught it being backed out of the stall in Hartford, getting ready to run. So another interesting number, 4444, 3 units and down in the Muskego Yard. Southern Pacific 4449 made a visit. Let's see, this would have been in August 2nd, 2009. In fact, I remember seeing Dave Nelson while doing this chase. So this is coming west out of the depot. A little closer up shot. Sure was nice and clean and polished, eh? And a view from overhead at cutoff. I don't remember what the occasion was, but it took its sweet time going back to, I think it was a house in Oregon at the time. Here it is departing the next day. This is from the Watertown Plank Road Bridge again. It's quite quiet actually here. Pretty almost snuck up on me. Okay. Union Pacific ran their Streamline units up to Janesville. This would have been in 2007. They ran some Operation Lifesaver excursions. It's really a nice looking train, I gotta say. Apparently these units are permanently out of service. Too bad that they made a good impression. The wing shield seems especially appropriate. So the next day it ran excursions. For signaling issues, they had to attack I believe a former Northwestern unit on the front. So I joined, I don't know, I would guess 75 or 100 people all congregated in this little area to get this shot at the Tiffany Bridge. I'm sure some people watching were there. All right. This Union Pacific commemorative engine powered by our people came through last June. I'm sorry, June of 2020, rather. Taken just kind of behind the Target, south of Capitol Drive. A close-up of what the scheme looks like. Very striking, must say. Another unit, number 1234, taken in Winona, Minnesota. In the spirit of the Union Pacific, it's leading it eastbound. I drove over to Clinton, beat it to Clinton, and watched it pull in and caught it stopped underneath this bridge, which is familiar to anybody who's visited there. Goes over the tracks to the yard. Then chased it eastbound. Caught this a few miles east of Fulton before Morrison. Unfortunately, by then this train was hauling and there was nothing in front of it. So this was the last shot I was able to get of it, because I have to slow down for the towns, but the train doesn't. So left me way behind. But very nice scheme. Okay, on December 24, 2006, heard that these two units were leading the daily Council Bluffs Proviso train. So went west into Iowa, got up early, went west into Iowa and got it. The Missouri Pacific unit first and the Katy unit trailing. There's another chance where I caught the Mopac unit leading at Rochelle. Taken from the Highway 30 bridge. Yeah, I think this is Union Grove, Illinois. All right, the Western Pacific commemorative unit. I've never caught it leading. Best I could do was put on the Global 3, Global 2 transfer for a while. So I got it at Rochelle. Here's a broad view of that Katy unit from the December 24th chase. Here's the Denver and Rio Grande unit, ended up in, of all places, Belvedere. So Patty was willing to be a model and let me take a picture of her in front of it. Yes, we did have permission. The person in the yard office was utterly indifferent. Just stay out of the way, he said. So there we are. Here I came into Butler one time. I believe Mike Uhas was there when I took the shot, and Keith and all the other usual suspects. For my money, this is the most engaging of the Union Pacific units. And it came into Butler not too long ago. I didn't write down the date in my notes here, but it's good to see it leading. It's like a very long sand train, eh? This is what the Denver Rio Grande unit looked like coming out of the Wisconsin Southern shops. You will recall that it was wrapped and unveiled, I believe, in Denver, a few days after this picture was taken. And of course, there's the Northwestern unit, which is certainly eye-catching. It's at Galt, Illinois. I think we've already seen a picture of this in Gilbert's show at Geneva. One at Grand Marsh. It's obviously come through several times over the years. This was on its inaugural run west from downtown Chicago. This was taken from at Rochelle. And this was taken out in Sussex, my favorite of the shots I've taken of this unit. On eastbound. This is what the unit looked like on the way to Horicon to the paint shop, UP 8523 in transit. This is the Southern Pacific unit. On a visit to Butler. I did catch a leading one time. I was just spending the day trackside in Elmhurst, shooting whatever came along, and I had no idea that this was coming along, so I was glad to get it. Union Pacific painted 2 units for the Olympic Torch Relay. This is one of them coming off the bridge at Clinton, westbound. There's a better view of the side, Olympic Torch Relay. This is at Rochelle, I believe. This is of the other unit, UB 2002. This was leading eastbound at Comanche, just west of Clinton, Iowa. There's a close-up on the side. Light the fire within. Very striking scheme. Well done, in my opinion. Yeah, one time it led a train through Milwaukee. This is in West Dallas. The factory in the background has been torn down since. Caught this at the Butler Diesel Shop. We will deliver. You know, there's opinions vary as to what will be delivered and when and where, but that was a scheme they were using at the time. This United Way unit spent a lot of time in Wisconsin. I shot this several times and it was always fun and good to get it. This is at the Diesel Butler shop. This is, I think this was taken behind at the south end of the yard where we all like to congregate for southbounds. Caught this on the westbound, stopped at Butler. I was not afraid to drive in back then. I don't do that anymore. So the spirit of the Union Pacific 1943 and the George Bush commemorative unit, that'd be George Bush, the first of the two Bushes that were president, did a tour through the Union Pacific system, and one of their stops was at Global 2. So Patty and I heard that it was possible to drive in there and get a shot. You know, it's a public road until about right here, and nobody seemed to mind. So we parked and took a couple of pictures, and another rail fan took a picture of the two of us. Glad to get the shot. I did catch the George Bush unit back in 2008, leading a westbound into Butler. This was at Potter Road, I believe. You can see that Mopac unit is trailing. This unit got taken out of service after it was repeatedly vandalized. And I think they had to restore the unit to do the tour we just saw, and then it was donated to the George Bush Presidential Library. This is a Union Pacific patch of a Northwestern engine. You can see the empty decal on the side. This was the safety and reliability unit. So that might be a little bit of a stretch for the show, but it was at one time a special scheme. All right, now we're getting on the W's and getting towards the end of the show. Here's the Wisconsin Central. This will be the 150th anniversary scheme. This nice wrap on 3026. Your close-up. Took this one by the Subway sandwich shop in the south end of the yard in Fond du Lac. Here's a so-called flag unit where they put the flags of all the countries where they were doing business on the side of this engine. I think this was taken in Neenah. All right, the only thing special about this is it was an all Wisconsin Central lash-up on September 17, 2006. I'm willing to bet any money that this was the last time that 3 Wisconsin Central units were put on the same train. This was taken from the County Up Bridge on Byron Hill. Operation Lifesaver unit. Another Operation Lifesaver unit. It was sitting set out at the yard by the yard tower in Fond du Lac. Wisconsin Southern ran an excursion. This is at the Milwaukee Depot. Very eye-catching train. There's a different version of the train taken at Madison. An operational lifesaver unit for the Wisconsin and Southern taken at Janesville. Engines are long retired. They've issued various anniversary units. Here's their 35th unit, 35th anniversary unit, the 25th anniversary unit. So I should have put them in sequence, eh? The 30th, unfortunately a bit vandalized. That's taken at Janesville. The Grow Wisconsin unit. I don't remember specifically anymore what was being commemorated, but it was a nice unit. And here's a close-up of that decal that was on the side of the engine. Shows the entire system. This is the 40th anniversary unit. Well, looking for this unit, I believe this was a January 2nd or 3rd of 2021. Went looking for it and found it parked at Milton, and there was a lot of snow and I didn't have boots, and so I wasn't willing to walk in and get the side of it. So I tried from here. And I think we'd all agree this is sort of typical of what rail fans run into from time to time, and mildly humorous as I look back at it now. I sure hope to catch this unit out there sometime soon. And last but not least, the famous Model Railroader box car, celebrating 70 years of Model Railroader magazine, a promotion by Kalmbach Publishing. This box car, I think, ran around the country, and people called in sightings and they were published and so on. This ended up being put into storage for a short period of time in my hometown, Reedsburg. So I went up to visit my parents one time and went trackside and found this baby and put the camera on delay, hustled and put myself in the shot. With that, that's the end of the show. Thank you for sharing this trip down memory lane with me. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, Jerry Krug, everybody. Give Jerry a good round of applause. Round of applause for Jerry. Anybody have any questions for Jerry or comments? Well, I think that will wrap up our slideshow for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll do this again on June 21st, and then we'll take August off, and then we'll be back in October. We do have a meeting coming up on first Friday in May, and that features Andrew S. Nelson doing his programs on the Wisconsin Central and the Green Bay and Western. That takes place Friday, the 6th of May. He'll be presenting the programs live in Fox Point, and we will be broadcasting them over Zoom as well. So with that, I would like to close the meeting and thank you all for your attendance tonight. Thank you to our presenters for doing a really great job. Thank you all, you guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Mike, for organizing all this.
You bet.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.
Thanks, Robert.